Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is OctoMan, and I'm your instructor for the next couple of minutes, or probably half an hour or an hour, about how to create 3D animations with inverse kinematics. So, if you are a rigger or 3D artist, you already know what's going on over here, and we are going to basically do all these animations inside Unity, of course, because that is going to be a Unity tutorial over here. So we are going to download a script or plugin which is made by Josie Dyer's pretty decent plugin, and it is free. So I recommend you go and search for inverse kinematics inside the Unity asset store and download it. I'm gonna preview pretty quick what we are going to learn or what we are going to do over here, and I'm gonna explain the complete process, how you can do prototyping in case of animations, as well as probably take one of your characters which you have rigged and done like everything already with that, and make sure that you can later on animate this directly in Unity. So you don't have to do this in Blender or Maya or 3ds Max or even Cinema 4D. You can just take your rigged 3D model, no matter what type of a model that is going to be, and you are able, yeah, to do all the work, all the animations directly in Unity. So what I have preset over here is some small character over here just with boxes, and I'm gonna go through the complete process in creating that type of character, and I'm gonna show you how to animate this stuff in this next, yeah, couple of minutes. So first off, let me pretty quickly showcase what we are going to do over here, or what this character is able to do whenever you have set up everything correctly, and what type of animations you can do with inverse kinematics and so on. So since I'm planning on working on some kind of a brawler 3D-ish fighting beat 'em up style game, I decided to probably do all these animations and stuff like that directly inside of Unity. So whatever you're seeing over here is based on just one script, which once again I told you about is inside the Unity Asset Store for free, and the rest is just a basic animation knowledge compared with some basic setups over here. So let's dive into it. I'm gonna completely new or create a complete new scene over here with nothing inside. Maybe I'm gonna create a new 3D object with a plane in it, so we're gonna have something to work with or on. Also, I might want to go and attach a green material onto this, nothing fancy at all. We don't really care about that. So my auto regenerate lighting is currently off, so I probably go into this pretty quick and turn it on. So you don't have to take care of that. I just need to enable auto generate over here. So we're gonna have some light in the scene after the auto generated lighting or light baking is yeah, enabled. Okay, so what we need is once again the script. It's once again a verse kinematics script over here. It's a rather small one. You can once again download this completely in the asset store for free. No fancy stuff at all. In case of 3D animation, no matter what it is, if it is a character, if it is a quadruped like a dog or any animals, or even yeah, objects which do probably have multiple legs or multiple arms or whatever it is going to be, most of the time you can make use of inverse kinematics in case of animation, especially when there are walk cycles where you want to do some ambient foot movement, I would say. So what I would do is at first, since this little script, this inverse kinematic script is kind of picky sometimes, we're gonna create one type of a foot at first as one kind of a leg, I would say, just a normal leg. You can once again do any type of leg design later on, and we're gonna need to make sure that we are looking from the left. So on the our x-axis need to be away from us, and the z-axis need to look to the right. So this is important because the setup, once again, is kind of picky later on. Also, we want to keep stuff in mind, which is going to be called hierarchy. So, or inverse kinematics is hierarchy dependent, basically, all dependent on how the hierarchy is structured. Okay, so A usual character, whenever you're starting to create characters, have a ground control or maybe a global control somewhere in the scene, most of the time at the foot area. So we can create an empty game object, zero this one out by just reset it, and let's see where we are at the moment. I'm gonna reset my little plane over here as well, so we start where we have to. What I also take is one of these little icons and just make it the blue icon so I can see what this game object later on is going to be about. Okay, so this icon should usually show up over here. If not, well, then I just don't care at the moment. Oh, because I need to enable gizmos, of course. So this is going to be my global CTRL or global control. So this is the object you're later on going to make use of for the direct movement. All indirect movement, like, well, the walk cycles and stuff like that, are going to be created internally inside this global control piece over there. Okay, so when we are starting to create animals or anything else, every animal or any type of humanoid character do have a pelvis. So what we do is we create as just a cube, which is going to act as our pelvis. So once again, we need to keep in mind where we are. And you can scale it basically to any size you like and please. So for example, I'm gonna keep mine as is. Later on, we can do a global scale from the global control, and the rest, it doesn't really matter. If you have a rig character, everything is going to be based on your rig character bones, so you don't have to do this complete setup over here. But probably for, let's say we want to create a spider type something with a multiple legs on it and so on and so forth, you might want to go into the prototyping state and use all of that. So everything what we are currently creating are more or less placeholders where everything is going to be connected to later on. So I'm gonna name this one right now just pelvis. So once again, this is the pelvis where the legs are coming out from. Then we're gonna do a real or the actual leg setup. So the leg setup, at first, we need to make sure, because in Unity, all objects, pivot points are always in the center of whatever the 3D object is going to be, needs to be or needs to have a special setup. So I'm gonna create a new cube over here. I can basically bring this onto the pelvis and zero this one out. So I just reset it over here. And then I drag it away where the leg is going to be, maybe somewhere here. I can also basically go in and scale this up and down. You should do this before you do anything else. So I probably gonna make it so that it is like a 05, 05, 05. And then I bring this once again back to the position where I want to have the leg being connected. Next, I'm gonna duplicate this over here and bring this where the knee area is going to be for the lower leg piece over there. So this will be our object later on, which has maybe some graphics on it. We're gonna create some extra graphics for that, probably something like that. This one is going to be the knee area, and in the very bottom, we're gonna have a foot area. So I'm gonna duplicate this once again and bring this wherever our foot is going to be later on. You don't need to take care of how big this ankle is. You just need to make sure that everything is set up accordingly. When this is going to be inside the plane in the bottom, it's okay-ish, but make sure you later on fix everything. But we can, once again, do all of these fixes later on onto the global control over there. So for the moment, I'm gonna rename them to be, this is going to be where my foot is going to be on. This is going to be basically my lower leg area. You can basically do the same setups later on for the arms, no problem at all. So this is going to be, I'm gonna name it knee. And the upper one, of course, is, I don't know, whatever it is, it's the upper. Okay, so in inverse kinematics, it is so that whenever we are moving the foot, we want the rest to be calculated automatically. But to do that, we're gonna need two more extra helpers for that. First, we need to have a foot control. So I'm gonna duplicate the foot and name this one foot. And in this case, it's probably the right foot. So foot or CTRL for control. And you can also give it a tint later on. You can make it bigger, smaller, easier accessible, and so on and so forth. So this foot control, well, basically is going to make sure that we're going to be able to target this one. Then we also need a knee control. I'm going to copy the knee over here, duplicate Control D, and it's going to be my right knee CTRL. So, and once again, I'm gonna probably put some other material onto this, maybe something red, so I can see these ones later on a bit better. Okay, so now we are going to come to the part where we need to connect the correct parts together. So once again, this is just an ankle or just a connector to calculate the inverse kinematic. The same here and same here. Later on, once again, we go and calculate or recalculate all that stuff. This controls over here can also be a bit smaller or bigger depending on how easy you want to access those, of course. So I'm gonna take the knee and bring this, make it a child on the upper one, and the foot is going to be, of course, part of the knee. So whenever we move the foot, we want the knee to follow, and the knee should control the upper one. Now we're gonna select the upper one. Keep everything in mind. You don't need to, by the way, take boxes over here. You can also take anything else like spheres or something. And now we're gonna go and take the script and put this onto the upper area over there. We need to make sure that these controls are not part of upper but part of pelvis. Just keep that in mind. This is important. If not, then you of course later on need to go into this and change it back. So we are going to the scripts of that, and I'm gonna drag the inverse kinematic part onto my upper box over here. So in here, we're gonna have to put in the upper arm. It's tall, the forearm, the hand, and the elbow and the target. So these are basically used to or for making use of arms, but we can also make use of them for legs. So, and how does it work is, once again, we just take the upper part over here. So upper is now our first transform. The forearm is basically our knee type or knee part. And the foot, in this case, is going to be the hand. If you want to change the script's names over here, or maybe put an enum inside and then just switch back and forth if you want to have an arm or a foot setup, basically doesn't matter at all. So, and then we're gonna have this one is going to be the knee control. So we need to put this into the elbow. So knee is equal to elbow and the foot. And once we put that in, something is going to calculate over here because this is running in at a time. Just keep that in mind. So we just need to take the foot right now and bring this into this target part over here. So what you can also do is you can enable debug. And when you do that, you can see there's some angle calculated as well as several parts over here. So you can see my knee is now rotated by 90 degrees to the left. So that means that wherever our part is going to be over here, the knee don't really matter or doesn't really take care of. But as you can see now, when I move this left and right, I just need to correct this particular knee part over here. You can just basically should be able to drag it around. But as you can see, this is not the knee, but the foot. So something is basically wrong over here. What we need to do is to fix that, we maybe bring the foot into the center and bring this down below where it has to be. So actually where our original foot part is going to be. This is a bit tricky to set up at the first place, but trust me, you're gonna like that whenever it's working. So I bring the foot part over here where my actual, target is going to be. Meaning whenever we are moving our foot target, everything else will of course follow up over there. Now we just need to make sure that the knee is also going to be on the correct position. So we basically bring this to the other side over there. Once again, if you have a rig already done over here, or you have created a rig already, no problem at all. You can make use of that. So I dragged it a bit away over there. So I can actually fiddle around a bit more how stuff is going to work. So, and how does all of that stuff now work? Is we're gonna have these red controls over here, and these red controls do first off calculate where the knee is going to look at, and the red one over here, the lower one, the foot control, is going to tell how high the foot is going to go. So you can see pretty good. We can stretch that and we can do several different animations at this point. The cool thing is whenever stuff is going to be connected to the pelvis already and we drag up the pelvis, everything is going to follow. So what we need to do is we now parent our pelvis to the global control like this. So basically, whenever we are moving the global control, everything else is going to follow as well. So this is the hierarchy dependent stuff over here. And the final step is the root or the right control for, or the foot control and the knee control. These are the ones which you want to link to or make child of the global control and not of the pelvis. So the pelvis is going to be now our center of mass basically, and the foot control for the right foot and the knee control are going to follow up completely. So when we are now taking the pelvis and move it around, you can see that our foot is going to stay wherever it currently is. And whenever we are dragging it up, it is trying to fit to the position where we are. Also, it's going to rotate into the correct directions based on the settings we have made before. Okay, great. So what we now can do is we can basically place some more information onto the foot, so it's looking more or less, yeah, more like a foot. And also we can easily just duplicate the complete setup over here and make it so that it is sitting on the other side as well. So what we take is the upper as well as all the controls over here. We Control D to duplicate and bring them to the other side. There's one more thing we need to take care of, is that they are all renamed correctly, especially later on when it comes to animation. So this knee control over here needs to be now the left knee control because we are going to have a left-based character. Then this lower or this target from the foot also needs to be a low or left one, and the rest can stay the same because only controls matter later on. The pelvis is going to be the pelvis, it's just a single one. And now we can basically knee down and do cool stuff with that. So, and finally, when you, for example, want to add some more structure onto our foot over here, we can do so. To do that, we just select, for example, the upper piece over here, create a new right click, a new. You can make use of a cylinder, you can make use of a cube, whatever you like. And please, I'm gonna create a cube so it's zeroed out completely. And I take this little rect tool over here and change it to local so I can drag just that piece over here and make it as long as I like to. So this is the 2D tool, but also works horrendously for 3D stuff. Same for the other side. Basically, we can just duplicate this cube and bring this to the other side, or to the other upper side, and just zero this one out in position. But only in X position because the Z position is still in the center. And now we can manipulate the actual 3D graphic without any issues and any problems. And now we can also do the same for the lower part over here. So for the lower knee, or for the knee part, I'm gonna just duplicate. No, I don't. I just create not an empty, but another cube over here, like so. And currently we are here on the other side, no problem at all. We just stretch that out. So we're gonna get a full, more or less full piece over here. As you can see also, it might look like it is going to intersect. So you might want to move it a bit around until you more or less fit your needs. Once you're done with that, we can just duplicate this cube and bring this once again to the other side over here. We're gonna reposition the y value, or in this, yeah, the y value, and we are good to go. So maybe we have chosen the wrong one. So nope, looks good. So now you can see the knee or the knee ankle is always looking to our actual control cube over here, or target cube. And the final step is probably want to take the foot controls, make them a bit bigger so we can later on easier access them, so you can scale them up a bit. The foot itself is just a placeholder, so we can basically get rid of the mesh renderer component of that. And these ones are later on also not going to be rendered, but for animation we of course need those. And what we want to do is on our foot over here and over here, we want to also create some cubes. So, and maybe we're gonna scale them a bit, bring them anywhere, maybe make them a bit smaller, and need to make sure that we are bringing them onto the bottom over here. So these are not changing anything because they are just linked to foot. And the other cube over here from this foot is over here. So we can basically take this, copy the complete component over here, and bring this to the other one over there. So we just paste component values over there. So we have now a duplicate of the leg. What the cool thing now is with that setup, you can basically create anything you like in case of whatever has legs. And the animation is just but done by basically, moving targets around, animate only these red blocks, only these targets, and when you want to knee down, you can just do that by, just moving the pelvis. You can do something like a jump stuff and so on and so forth. If you want to rotate these ones because your toe tip sometimes need to be, rotated, then just rotate the target. The toe tip is going to follow up. Why is that so? Because in each of these upper areas over here, these have the hand matches target rotation enabled, so you can make use of that without any problems. You can also disable that if you don't want that. So, and that's everything. That's the stuff you want to take care of. So once again, everything is in the z-axis. So we are basically, whenever we do movement, we always know, okay, our global control over here when we go to move is always in the z direction already. So we can do easy computing on position and stuff. And when it comes to movement itself, we just move the global control, and the rest of the animations are also sitting on global control, but we can just trigger the particular animations and so on and so forth. Cool, so now we have the pelvis over here. We can basically do the same with the upper arms. So we could, for example, copy the complete setup over here and just make arms out of it. So we can animate these arms. Also, we are able to duplicate these, of course, single. So, for example, when I now make a copy of my pelvis or just create a new empty or a new 3D object, it is important that you do not use any scale values when the script is attached. And now I'm gonna create another cube. So this is going to be my chest piece or chest something. This is basically the part where the shoulders are going to be connected, and you can put that stuff wherever you like. It depends on the character you're going to create. If it is an animal, of course, then it might be somewhere here, like when you have some type of, I don't know, a gorilla or something similar, then you might want to do it like that. Or if you have a wolf or a sheep or whatever other type of animal, then you might want to have something like that. Once again, we are just talking about the prototyping animations over here. So this can be anything. And also later on you want to probably have a head on your creature over here. I'm gonna scale the head a bit up. Usually you should avoid scaling directly on this particular part, but well, we want to visualize that, so the head is okay for this part. So I'm gonna rename the head just in case, so I do not forget what's going on. And that's probably everything for the moment. And now we just need to duplicate the other parts over there to be my arms. So we're gonna have still these elbow areas. We still have the same setup. We can also set up a complete new part because you know how this is working right now, and we can simply just do this. Once again, I make sure I am in the x-axis, so left of the character or right of the character does not really matter. And we can basically do the same stuff we have done before already. Maybe we're gonna do it a bit smaller over here in case of controls once again. So something we are going to do with 0.5, 0.5, 0.5 as our arm connectors. We might want to bring this already at the position where our arm is going to be connected, somewhere here, and maybe a bit inwards. We don't go over clavicles because these are rather useless in this term or in this case. And now we're gonna just duplicate that parts over here. You can snap control that. You can also measure where this would be, how the distance would be for a real human type of character or something like that. So completely and totally once again up to you. I'm gonna rename this. So this is going to be now my upper again, my upper arm. And in that case, it's the right arm. So maybe name it R for right. So this is going to be the elbow right. So also I'm gonna put an R, and this one would be our hand R. So again, we're gonna make sure we make it so that they're all connected to the upper arm over here, like child. So whenever we would basically rotate, this is going to follow up. So by the way, this is an FK setup, so forwards kinematics, where you just rotate one thing and everything else, every child is going to follow up, which is going to be used for sometimes. So you don't necessarily have to do inverse kinematics for arms, because you cannot switch back and forth. Well, not usually, but you can try to, based on scripts, and maybe you're gonna change the script a bit so you can make use of that. I'm gonna duplicate this one over here. So this is going to be once again my, so actually I'm gonna do not this, but that. This is going to be my elbow control R. So CTRL for the right one, which is later on, once again, basically sitting on our global control of the character. And I'm gonna tint this also red. And I'm gonna need another from the hand. I need a hand control. Basically, gonna name this one hand CTRL and R. So, and I haven't moved this. I just made so that it is not child of upper arm. And I'm gonna do the same with the elbow over here. And I tint both once again red so I can see them easier later on. Okay, cool. And now we just apply or the script once again to him. So to the upper arm, inverse kinematics, and we're gonna set this up again the same way as we've done before. We're gonna take forearm is going to be the elbow area, hand is going to be the hand area, of course, hand control is going to be the target, and the elbow control is going to be the elbow control. As you can see, this time it worked a bit better. We can also enable debug, so we see how these ankles are going to look like and how they are going to be structures. So this one is going to be, once again, our elbow area, which we can more or less already go and move a bit. So we're gonna have a small ankle over there. And now everything is going to be calculated based on the distance basically between those pieces over there. And if you see such wiggle waggle around like this, it is because the target is not behind the elbow. So you need to move the target behind the elbow. So you're gonna be, always on the good side over there. You can also make this one outwards a bit, and depending on where this target is, the elbow is going to rotate as well as the upper arm area over here. Pretty decent. So once again, in case of graphics, you can now connect anything you like to this area over here, to the hand, for example. You can make a hand mesh and position this one to it. Anyhow, I cannot reconnect this, but that's okay. And I did just disable this hand mesh render. So because I just need to make sure I only have the control over there. Also, the directional light is a bit in the way. So I drag it just away from my little character. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna have this final setup basically done for the left arm. We can now just duplicate the right arm. I completely take the complete controls over here, duplicate them, bring them to the other side. And the final step is just bring this one outwards, bring the hand wherever it has to be, position it correctly wherever we think this is going to happen or going to be, and we should be good to go. Usually you should not touch the elbow because all of that is determined on the length and hierarchy based. And now we have some super simple setup. The final step is probably go in here into the upper arm area and once again bring some graphics onto those. So you can make sure you're gonna use another cube over there. For our upper arm, we go to local once again and drag it until it is hitting the area where we want this arm to be ended. Once again, you can also slightly reposition this one if you want to. Then you go to the other area over here And so to the elbow area, gonna create another cube. I'm gonna drag this one downwards until it hits my hand. And finally, we're gonna do this for the other side as well. Once again, if you want to make 100% sure, just copy and paste the values to the other side. So here, gonna copy or create a new cube over there. Locally, bring this away a bit. Maybe bring this also, once again, a bit backwards. And finally, taking this elbow and create a new cube over here. And I'm gonna drag this down until it hits my hand. About the same as the other one. Once again, if you want to make 100% sure, you can always go in and copy and paste values. Okay, great. So now we just need to make sure that these are part of the chest piece. So our upper arm. Also, we need to make sure these are all renamed to be L. So this is going to be now an L elbow, an L hand. Once again, for animation, this is important, as well as for the controls. So this one is going to be a left control, because otherwise, whenever you're going to do the animations later on, you're gonna override the first one because of the naming convention. So once again, now we need to take the upper arm and the lower arm and need to make sure that these are pieces of the chest or connected to the chest. Okay, so now our hierarchy is based on the pelvis. So everything should be connected to the pelvis. The pelvis is the only one which is connected to the global control, except these ones. These needs to be also part of that. So we have now all these control parts are going to be child of our global control over here. And now when we would, for example, move the pelvis around, you're going to see that the arms are going to stay where they are. Our upper body part is going to stay over here as well. And we can also do everything with the pelvis as well as with the chest piece. Great. So now, since we have the possibility to do all of that, we can just do something like a rather normal idle position over here with that. Once again, we can also rotate these targets whenever we have like hands onto our character, then we are good to go. So what's the cool thing about this rather fine setup right now is we can do some wiggle waggle with our shoulders. We can do some wiggle waggle with our pelvis. So for example, we can do stuff like that. And we can also reposition that stuff if we like to. The only thing, as you have seen, is that the head seems not to be part of the chest. Let's see, it is actually not moving with it. So we want to make sure that this is also part of the chest. Great. So now we should be able to do this. We don't have a spine, but actually in this tutorial we don't need one. And we're gonna have this over here, so we can also do this part. Like as I already explained before, we can rotate the pelvis now to the left, bring the chest to the right, maybe move it also a bit, and so we're gonna have some cool things to work with. So let me tint all the necessary controls for you so you get an idea about it. So, and the main controls are now red. We're gonna only, well, of course, the head is going to be another control later on as well. So these are the base controls we're gonna need. We need to have a control for the head, so we can basically look around. We're gonna have the chest piece, whenever it lets me. We can do like all those fancy rotations over here with the chest piece. We can make use of the pelvis piece. We can now move our legs wherever we want to. We can also do some fancy rotations with the elbow or the knees in this case. Same to the elbows. Good. So once you are at this point, whenever you have set it up so that your character is more or less done, you can think about how high he's going to be, how he's going to move. Once again, if it is an animal, this is absolutely working same way. And for example, you just need to make sure that you, of course, knee down over here or bring the pelvis a bit lower over there. If it is an animal, then of course you need to raise up the chest piece over here and bring the actual, targets for the hands down onto the ground. So, and now you just have any type of animal like a gorilla, as I said before, for example, or anything else. And you can rotate the head now, and now you see pretty simple. And we can now animate this completely without any issues. I'm gonna undo all of my changes right now, and now we can go into the animation part. We have our global control over here, which is representing the position of our piece over here. No matter where we are going to set this one, we spawn this one, the basic movement is happening later on by code onto the global control. But what we now can do is we can, do any type of fancy animations right now. So what does it mean is we need to make sure we select our global control, go to Window, Animation, Animation, and of course the animation window is going to open. In here, first off, of course, you always want to make sure that you have some kind of idle positioning over here. Maybe I'm gonna do something more like a fighter. So as you have seen in my first preview, so maybe I'm gonna bring my fists or my hands up a bit. Nah, not really fists, but you get the idea. And bring it somewhere here. So whenever this guy is going to be a fighter, you probably want to start with a stance in this particular or one particular idle stance like that. Maybe I'm gonna bring my foot a bit back over here, the other one a bit into the front. Cool, so now we have a fighter stance. If you don't like these little lines over here, you can always go and disable the debugger on the upper and lower parts, like upper arm areas and upper knee or, foot areas and so on. Okay, so once again, with global control selected, which is ultra important over here, you just click on create, go to your animations folder and create a new, I'm gonna name it maybe TUT for tutorial, and then I'm gonna put in something like idle. What's going to being created over here is just we can put in any properties over here, which are all related to the global control right now. In that case, we just hit the record button and start to animate. For example, when we are going for idle, first off, we need to have some keys in the front. You can only key stuff whenever you move it. So probably you go to the first second over here, and we only move whatever we think we are going to need over there. So I'm not sure how to rearrange or arrange that right now. Make sure you see like everything which is possible or which is needed, meaning the animation window needs to be seen at the moment as well as your scene view, so you can operate both at the same time. Because the basic animation is going to be still made inside the scene view. So let's do something like, something like that. He's going to just idle like a boxer or something. So how does it work is, as you have seen, when I'm in record mode, a key is going to be created at a specific point. So what we can do is we can, for example, move him a bit to the left, maybe not too much. And now I'm gonna take this keyframe and bring this into the center. Now I can take this keyframe, copy by Control C, I mean, and now on the last keyframe, you need to make sure that your, timeline, your slider is going to be at the other side over there. You can see I'm back where I came from right now. So whenever I play this, I'm gonna move left and move back. So this is some kind of a movement we might want to achieve over there. If you go into the transform operation of the pelvis, which we already have moved at the moment, you see what's going to happen over here. So from this position to this position, this is the X position at 0. So what we now can do is, since we also know, okay, our first position here is minus 15, and this is going to be set to be 0 on X. Once again, we are here on the X-axis. That's why that is so important. We now can go and put some loopable idle animation from the left to the right and back to the left. To do that, we can also shrink this complete animation part by selecting all keys and dragging the slider with the little, the straight slider over there to the middle. So he's going to that position, and now we want to copy this key and bring this over here to 45. Gonna paste this with V and negate whatever the number is to the opposite way, to the opposite side. I guess it's going to be this number. I'm gonna copy the number, bring it over here. Well, when it lets me. And make a plus in front of it. So, well, it isn't the correct number, it seems. So we're gonna do it by hand. So we just basically drag this guy onto the other side for about, I don't know, 130, something like that. You can always go in and make sure all works completely. And to make a complete round one, you might want to copy this part over there and duplicate it so that it is at the end of our loop. So it's now looking a bit stucky. And to avoid that, we can now get rid of the center animation over here. We're gonna have still a bit ploppy animation, but it is a good start. What we want to do is we want to lift the body a bit up and down and maybe also move the hands quite some bit. So for example, we gonna, whenever he's coming to the center over here, maybe bring it a bit down. I don't know. So it's going to do something like a U, a shape, or a sinus cave shape movement. But at the moment, I don't really like that positioning over there. So maybe I take the Y position and keep track of that. So here we have a negative Y, and probably I'm gonna copy this key over here just for the Y value, Control C, and bring this over here. And same here, I'm gonna bring this over here as well. Nope, that was the wrong one. We didn't want it to paste the value, but the key. So, and when I now apply this, you can see it becomes even a bit more like a boxer. And we haven't done much actually. We just, yeah, dragged around the pelvis and give him some keyframes over there. Now we can also offset or move the arms a bit, something like bringing them down or up whenever the body comes up, for example. We can just take it a bit over here and bring it over there. So, and maybe bring this to another position over here as well. And we just need to make sure that at the very end, we're gonna go back with that complete piece and actually Control V this at the very end. So no matter what we are going to do here is that we want to make sure that it's always going to come back where it came from. Let's see what we can do with that. And how stuff is going to look. And maybe I'm gonna bring just or delete this once again and try to figure a better way. Maybe I just copy the first keyframe, or maybe gonna bring this in the center over here to any position, something like here, and take the first key, copy that, and bring this over here. So we're gonna have our idle, one loop over there, and maybe we're gonna do the same for the other hand, but offset it a bit. So for example, at the center over here, we bring in this maybe a bit inwards. That's okay. And we copy this keyframe from the first one, bring this over here to the last keyframe. And the center one, we're gonna offset this by maybe something. So it is not looking that it is working the same way over here. And finally, we can also do some rotational movement over there. So depending on what's going to happen over there, we're gonna stretch over here and we're gonna bring something with the arms. So maybe we're gonna do some small rotation over here as well. So you can see here's this chest rotation key. We just copy this one from here and bring this to the end as well. So we're gonna have some hopefully good looking idle position, as you can see, looks humanoidish, and we are now able to do any other kind of animations here as well. When you think you are done with your idle animation, which currently I think I'm quite happy with that for the moment. So we're gonna have some decent offsetted movement. Then you can just stop recording over here, do a play, and see if you like the actual outcome of that. And if you're happy with that and you have some good offset in case of animation over here, you can also go now into idle animation, or from idle animation, for example, to walk cycle animation. To do that, you just go here, create new clip, and we're gonna name this one Tut Walk, for example, and save that. As you see, we are going to start once again wherever we are started beforehand. Now we just once again re-enable the record button whenever we are selected or we have selected the global control over here. And now we do the basic walk cycle, which everybody can create without any issues. So a walk cycle contains usually 7 keys, I guess. There are like 2 in-betweens and 3 breakdowns or something like that. So we are going to start at this position, so we know we need to end at this position as well. That's hopefully what you have learned already. So I'm gonna create a keyframe first for the foot. I'm gonna go into the center of 1 second over here and bring both foots around the center. So we're gonna have just a sliding animation over here. Once again, at the very end, I'm gonna copy both frames over here, both keys, bring them to the end. Now you think, oh my God, that can happen because it's not correct. That's right. Because now we need to have one time a foot a bit more to the right. Like this one needs to be where this is, and this needs to be where this is, kind of that. I'm gonna take this key over here and bring this anywhere a bit in front, so we have more time. So once again, this is our center field over here. So I'm gonna copy this again and bring this to somewhere around 45. And now in the center, we need to make sure that we are going to have this position in the center, like here, and then we're gonna do the movement back. So we can basically go this way, copy that, complete frames, and bring them at first in the center. And now we can negate whatever the other ones are, or we just drag around a bit until it looks good. For example, well, not this one. I take the right control. When I look in, in some kind of a orthographic view over there, I can see where this position is going to be. You can also put another helper object for that over here as well. So that means somewhere here needs to be the other one. So the left control, basically. So I drag this wherever it could be. And you're gonna see what's going to happen now is we just copied over the complete part over there. So we now have some sliding feet. Great. So, and since we now have this sliding feet, hi Daniel, thanks a lot for tuning in. And now, since we have the sliding feet, we want to make sure that at one position we are going to lift up one foot. And we are going to lift this foot, which is going forward. Like this one is now going forward at the first place. So at the center where we are going to have this, we want to make sure that we lift it up by so, maybe. It depends on how your actual movement has to look later on. But so we're gonna do stuff like that. And now you can see over here, it is actually planted once again. And now at this point over here, we need to do the same stuff with the other foot. Bring it about the same size or the same height as we did with the other one. And now we have a simple walk cycle onto our character. But as you can see, it does not really look human, right? So What do we miss over here is, well, the pelvis, for example, does not move in any, direction. I'm not an animator, but I can tell you that some of these things are probably important. Whenever you're moving your right foot forward, your pelvis is going to rotate to the other side. Let's try that. I'm gonna go for local a rotation right now because this might be a bit more efficient. So let's assume we're gonna make it so that we slide it like into a negative, let's say 15 degrees over here. Whenever it comes to the movement of the right foot forward. Now, of course, we need to make sure we're gonna bring this one back to 15 onto this side at the very end. But also that means that at the first place, we're gonna need to have a negated, pelvis over there. Let's play that. Looks good. So what we now also need is, of course, we need to have a negative, like the hip is also moving down a bit. So you probably want to go and rotate it a bit like, this way, but not too much. Just a slight bit onto the z-axis over here. So just to lean a bit more into the direction over there. You can always go and control this rotation. I'm going to copy this value right now. And whenever we are here at this point, we also want to do this, but the other way. So we're going to put in a positive number. The other ones shouldn't be affected at this point. So we're going to have a slight offset, or we should have a slight offset over here on the Z rotation. Great, and of course we're gonna maybe do some other movement like the opposite movement, like the shoulders are now moving into the other direction. So basically, the other way. So the pelvis rotates right, but the shoulder maybe rotates left at this case. So since we don't have any rotation at this point already, we're gonna make sure that at first we're gonna bring it like the opposite, maybe something about 30 degrees into negative y, as you can see over here. And over here, we're gonna need to make a positive 30. So we're gonna have like uh, a rather good movement. And the last one, of course, needs to be negative 30 once again. So we're gonna have everything like that again. So let's play that and see how that looks. Okay, there's a small issue anywhere, so we need to find that out. So there's a little hiccup. Okay, so the little hiccup somehow comes from the negative chest rotation or the chest rotation over here probably, which we're gonna do a control into pretty quick. This one is a Z as well. There seems to be a small movement. Pretty strange. It's not always happening. But okay. Hi, Betir. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Yeah, it's been a while, I know, but people are busy as I do as well. So, and the final step is, of course, we're gonna need to have our arms somewhere because, when we are walking, we are also moving our arms. And the arms basically moving with the shoulder and like with the chest. So, meaning whenever we are at this point, we're gonna have the arm maybe somewhere here, maybe a bit more to the outside. You can also take now this part. And the other one is going to be somewhere at the back. We need to take care of the elbow area over here. So we need to animate this with us. You see, I'm at the first frame just to make sure I get the correct setup done here. Maybe something like that. Looks good. And now we go to the center. frame over here. If you don't see anything, just go and yeah, zoom in with your mouse. So now you can see the chest is going to be the opposite. So we can basically take those two pieces over there and just move them backwards, maybe around where the other arm is. And we're gonna take these two pieces and bring them a bit forward. The elbow piece is not always necessary. It depends a bit on how you want to do the movement over there, and you know how the movement should work for you. Okay, so now we're gonna have the arms going with it. And the final step is we need to make sure we copy all these parts right now, like the left-hand control, right-hand control, position for the elbows, and need to make sure that these two are now copied from the first frame to the last frame. Because once again, we're gonna do looping over here. So I'm gonna select them all over here, like, with a control key, hold it down. Make sure I select elbow and hand controls. Go to the last frame. Oh, of course, need to copy it like Control C, go to the last frame and paste. And now you have a rather solid movement over here. If you have not moved the pelvis, let's pause that for a second. If you haven't moved the pelvis, or no, the chest piece, I mean, you should be able to correct this. Like in between. You can see the piece is, since I only rotated but did not position it, I can put this wherever I like at this particular point because I only rotated this one. I know it's looking funny, but just think about it, what you can do with it, you know? So, and all of that can be checked out in runtime, and I was looking like a chicken, but you get the idea, right? So that is how you can create your own animations. It's about when you want to have it like faster, then you're gonna have to, speed up the animation over here, for example. And the final step is just connected to your controls later on, like whenever you press something, then you have your animator control over here. Well, not this one, but this one. And these are the two animations we have created before, the toot idle and the toot walk. You can easily make transitions over here. You can put in any parameters. For example, when we are putting or when we are pressing something, then we're going to go into the walk animation. When we release it, we go back to idle. And you can also do the same for punches, for kicks, for whatever you need into your part over here. So I can even duplicate walk cycles. Gonna do something like 3 times that. I can, make just a small animation like a window or like a clip where I just, connect them all with some transitions and all of them will now play one after another and keep on going. So when we now press play and the animations are going to start on exit time, we're gonna do some idle and we're gonna do like 3 times the walk. And we're gonna do 2 idles and we go back to the walk. And later on, once again, you want to control all of that pieces basically, by any boolean, so by the script and so on and so forth. So you can do some pretty decent animations. You can do the IK controls. You can switch stuff around. Once again, you can even make sure later on you're gonna create something like animals, or in this case we are just prototyping stuff, meaning you can create animals, you can even a spider, you can animate them, you can see how they're working. And if you are sooner or later, if you're going to be happy with these, with the result or with the look, with the animation itself, and so on and so forth. And once again, you don't need to animate this in Blender, you don't need to animate this in Maya or in 3ds Max or even Cinema 4D. You just simply you just need to rig them over there, and the setup is already done in Maya, like all this, childing them together and stuff like that. You don't need to do this, and you can even use the same inverse kinematic script and just put in everything, put the controls together, And in the final game, you just actually disable the mesh renderer of all the controls over here, and you only see the done mesh. So for example, you don't want to see the knee controls later on, no problem, just disable the mesh renderer. If you don't want to see, of course, the elbow controls over here, just disable the mesh renderer. And, just make visible whatever you need over here. So I can get rid of these debug lines, can get rid of these debug lines and these and the last one over here as well. And now you can see all of that is actually useful, I guess. And that's how I would do some prototyping for character movement or for animals, for anything else. And the cool thing, once again, is you can take this one set, like one arm set or one foot set and so on, and you can just make a prefab and you can put like hundreds of foot anywhere. Like, just need to make sure you completely copy one particular arm set or one particular bone or foot set. Let's see if I can do this pretty quick over here just to make sure I don't miss anything. And this is going to be right foot control and right knee control over here. So I would just take these and make sure that I have an extra game object which is going to hold them. Like, give me a sec, I'm gonna create an empty over here and name it maybe prefab leg or something. And I'm gonna duplicate this complete strand, like the complete upper strand. I hope it lets me anyhow. Well, I'm gonna take them all single like this. And I need to take these and I just, duplicate them, Control D. Make sure I'm gonna add them to my prefab leg over there. Of course, the position may not be the correct one over there. It's like anywhere. So you'll probably want to make sure to bring them together. But to get the idea, I'm just going to make it so that I now take this prefab. There shouldn't be anything in or on it. And probably I'm going to disable my complete global control. And I just have that prefab leg left. And what I can now do is I can just duplicate it as much as I need. So once again, all of that is now part of the prefab. Hi there. Cheers, Mr. Gruesome. And the final step is just to take in as much of these legs as you need. Once again, the same stuff applies. Make one global control object, once again, like a cube, which is going to be your pelvis, for example. You're going to bring this anywhere. Like you just need to have something where you can link your legs to. So whenever you are going to move this, everything is going to work or going to follow. Then you're gonna take another prefab over here. Maybe you bring this over here and make sure it is part of the cube right now, like of your animal. And then you can, all of them are going to have their own setting. So this one has its own knee ankle. Well, hopefully. Yep. And this one has its own knee ankle. Why doesn't it just let me do what I want to do? Like so. Nope, still not. Gonna double click it. Okay. So I know you can do the same for the other side. And you have just one body part, which is going to drag all of that stuff around. And once again, if you want to make sure that your how many thousands of legs you're going to have later on over here, that all the controls over here are going to work based on the cube, I'm gonna have to restart that. I hate 2K19 of Unity, by the way. You need to make sure that you're gonna unlink them from the prefab over here. Select prefab root. I don't know. Well, let's see if we can just anyhow delete them or make that not part of the prefab anymore. That's so awful. Okay, guys, if you find out how you can actually just get the controls out of the freaking prefab because Unity doesn't let me, well then yeah, just do it. I mean, I don't know why I cannot just, release it from the frickin' prefab. Do I need to open this? Or do I need to revert it? No. I have no idea, really. 2K19, absolutely horrible. Children of prefab instances cannot be deleted or moved, and components cannot be reordered. That's horrible. You can open the prefab and prefab or restructure the asset itself or unpack the prefab instance. That's great. I need to unpack the comp. Oh my goodness. How can I unpack this? I don't know. Do I need to press here? No idea. I cannot unpack this. Select children. I can't do anything. Horrible. Unity, change that. That's horrible. Okay, so, and well, that's basically everything we need to know over here, I guess. So you get the idea. You just put in hundreds of lags. Whenever this freaking control would select open prefab, select prefab. I cannot unpack this. I have no idea. Well, if anyhow I would be able to unpack or just get rid of these controls over here, which I have planted now inside the prefab, can I just delete the freaking prefab select or the connection? No. Horrible, horrible. I can't. Okay, never mind. Well, important over here is just that whenever you don't use prefabs, in this case, probably you just copy and paste the lag over there. Maybe that's a bit better choice and directly link it over there without using a prefab. Then you can just make yourself a ton of arms on a character or a ton of something, and they gonna do, and later on, well, whenever that would work here, they are able to follow up correctly. Let me just take this stuff away here and try it again. So I just take one of these parts and my global control for the, what is it? Is it the lower? Is the right one? Nope, not the hand and elbow, but this one. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate those, bring them here, and make sure these are not part or not anymore part of the global control. See, because you're gonna create a new one, of course. Maybe we're gonna make not this, but a cube pretty quick. Once again, I just scale it anyhow and try again. So I'm gonna take upper, knee, foot, all the cubes, as well as all the controls, and make them part of the cube. Okay, so this does not work the way I thought it's going to work. Let's see. Nope. The scale is going to ruin it, sadly. So you might not want to scale this, and then you should be able to do it. It just ruined my setups. It's not nice. So, okay, good. So now I just need to reassign the cubes. So this one is my foot cube. So I'm gonna put this on my foot. Then this is going to be my knee foot or my knee, whatever. And this one seems to be the upper one. And now knee needs to be part of upper, and foot needs to be part of knee. And now we hopefully are back where we came from. Okay, great. And now we can take these as well as the controls, bring them to our, something. And finally, we can now duplicate this a ton of times as in the setup. So gonna make it to local. So you can get the idea. And everybody is now a single, a single part over here. We need to make sure that, once again, all these controls are part of the cube over here. So whenever we are moving this, all our legs are going to work the same way as they should. And that concludes my inverse kinematic animation series or video over here, or stream. And if you want to get more of these, of course, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the bell icon to get notifications even earlier, to join my streams if I have any, or if I do any or plan any. And also check out all my courses, which I have linked down below in the description, where you can learn different types of games and so on and so forth, as well as check out my website, octomangames.com, where you can hire me if you need help for one of your game projects. Once again, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one, and yeah, see you in one of my other courses or even video streams. Bye bye.